Is AI progress plateauing?
I certainly don't see any signs of that. I think people have a bit of impatience, right? A lot of worries about, somehow GPT-4 leading to some kind of hard takeoff, and we had 6 months to prepare. Maybe that was a case of the boy who cried wolf. But the fact of the matter is that that scaling continues. We've had a hardware bottleneck. Last year, NVIDIA produced maybe 500,000 H100s. This year, they're producing on the order of 2 million H100s and starting to roll out their next line of chips. So that bottleneck is just starting to alleviate. And as Kevin Scott from Microsoft said recently on an interview, all signs are that we're still on some kind of exponential curve, but it's one that we only get to sample every few years as new hardware comes in. And we've been stuck on a temporary plateau because GPT-4, of course, was a kind of, 2022 technology. And what we're seeing instead is a kind of catch up on smaller models that are now as performant as GPT-2 with a half or quarter of the size. But those algorithmic improvements are also being fed into bigger models. And when GPT-5 comes out later this year, or maybe early next year, we'll actually see for the first time, what looks like the sample from that higher level of scale.
So this might just be a question of us being in between models and people getting impatient.
Yeah, exactly. The way neural scaling laws work is, on some level, there's always diminishing returns, right? They're log normal. So to get a linear improvement in model performance, you do have to grow the data and compute and parameters exponentially. But we still have Moore's law and Moore's law-like trends running in the background with algorithmic improvements and hardware improvements. And so the exponential computing needs that we need are in some sense more linear than meets the eye. And so we're not on a true exponential where, we're on some hyperbolic curve where every model is going to be, as big a leap as GPT 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 was. But we are adding more nines to the decimal place, right? And that actually may contain a lot of really valuable information from the perspective of, getting these models to work better as agents, to be more reliable, to cross certain thresholds for, real life use cases. And that is something that we only get to do every few years because of these hardware constraints.
Yeah. And so the question is also, how far will this take us? You write about how LLM scaling will converge to human level intelligence. Is that because is that a limit of the training data because we only have human produced data?
Well, I think current methods based on training on human data will converge to human level intelligence. Of course, not like, in some ways the models will still be superhuman because they have, vast knowledge that no one human has and are able to sort of be a superposition of different personas and so on and so forth and think much faster. Like no human can just sit down and regurgitate a 1,000-word essay within seconds. But in terms of the core competencies of the model, the models are being trained on human data. So on some level, they're being bound by the abilities and intelligence and reasoning capacity that is latent in that human data. That being said, there's obviously a potential for techniques to bootstrap ourselves out of that bound, right? In the same way that Alpha Zero, the chess playing AI, through unsupervised learning and soft play, was able to not just beat humans, but become several standard deviations better than any human could ever be.